Morning, boys and girls. So today is Thursday, April 2, 2020, and today mainly it's just going to be a day for us to review our work, the work that we did on Monday, what we did on Wednesday as well, and we are going to be going over our do-nows. So again, just today is going to be a review day, and then tomorrow will actually be an assessment day. So that is why Thursdays we will be reviewing, so that on Fridays you are ready to take your assessment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to come off the camera and I'm going to be making the screen a little bit larger so you are able to see. But right now what I want you to do is go ahead and click pause on the video because you do have a do now today for Thursday. So go ahead and press pause. Remember to time yourself, complete your do now, and then we will come back and grade all of our do nows. Okay, so now that you have completed your do now for Thursday, we're just going to go back to the very top on Tuesday and we are going to briefly review our work for the week. Remember to please be honest with your work. And again, this is for you. We just want you to get better. So if you do make a mistake, as Ms. Rodriguez is completing the do now, go ahead and feel free to fix your do now and make any changes as you see if you need to. So we're gonna begin with Tuesdays, boys and girls, just because Mondays, every Monday you're getting the same do now. So therefore, I don't want to review it because then you're pretty much gonna have like a copy there for when you complete next Monday's do now. So Mondays I will not be reviewing, but I will review Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because these are different problems that you are getting every week. So we're going to begin with Tuesday. So for example, our first one, it's 5 times, and then we have parentheses 3 plus 4. When we have a problem like this, remember that we always follow the order of operations. So we're always going to solve what is in parentheses first. So we know 3 plus 4 is 7, and then we multiply 5 times 7. So our answer was 35. And then if we work on our second problem, we are doing the same thing. We're going to be starting with what is inside our parentheses. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then we subtract 15 minus 12, which gives us 3. So those were the answers for that first problem. Here what we are doing is we need to make sure, first and foremost, we have to make sure that we simplify and make the denominators the same. Right now we have 1/4 plus 1/2. Technically this would be a lot easier if we have both denominators the same. So we can simplify and look for a common factor. So 2 times 2 gives us 4. And what you do to the bottom, you need to do to the top. So 1 times 2 gives you 2. So instead of 1/2, we're going to rewrite this problem as 1/4 plus 2/4. And now that we have the same denominators, we are able to solve. Our answer is 3/4. Then we have, write the number in standard form. And this is very brief. 80 plus 2 plus 0.3. We pretty much are putting our numbers together. So 80 plus 2 is 82 plus 0.03 gives us 82.3. If 3 people share half a pound of peanuts, how much will each person have? So here what we're going to be doing is we are going to be dividing 1/2 pound into how many? 3 people. And remember, when you are dividing a fraction, you need to, first of all, you need to make sure that both of them are fractions. 3 is not a fraction, so in order to make it a fraction, we add a 1 to the bottom. And when we divide fractions, we use our keep, change, and flip. So we are going to keep 1/2. We're going to change our division symbol to multiplication, and we're going to flip our 3/1 into 1/3. So 1 times 1 gives us 1, and 2 times 3 gives us 6. So our answer for this problem would be 1/6. Remember, if you need to make any changes or correct your work, this is the time that you can do this. If I'm going a little bit fast, you're more than welcome to pause the video and then continue. Now we're going to go on to Wednesday's do now. Write an expression for this statement. It's saying add 7 and 3 then divide by 2. And this is going to kind of be a connection to this problem, to the one for 2. If at first you always solve what is in parentheses, and you want to add 7 and 3 first and then divide, we would do parentheses, 7 plus 3, and then we would divide by 2. So it goes like that. Our next problem, Amy ate 1/3 of a pizza and Bob ate 1/2 of the pizza. What fraction, so we know that we're going to need a fraction, of the pizza did they eat in all? So we know we're going to be adding just like our problem that we did on Tuesday. So our problem on the word problem is 1/3 plus 1/2. The same thing, we need to simplify and we need to find a common factor so that our denominator is the same. So one common factor that they both have is 6. So if we do 2 times 3, it gives us 6, and 1 times 3 gives us 3. So 1/2 would be, I'm sorry, I'm going to erase this. 1/2 is now 3/6. Now we're going to simplify this side. So 3 times 2 gives me 6, and 1 times 2 gives me 2. So 1/3 now became 2/6. So I'm going to write it on this side. So now I'm going to be able to add. 2 plus 3 gives me 5. And then our denominator will stay the same. So our answer for this would be 5/6. Round each number to the nearest whole. Remember, here our whole is this number right here. So this one would be 6, because we're always going to look at our helping number, which is this one right here. So 8, remember, if it goes over 5, then we round to the next nearest number. So the next number would be 6. And if it's less than 5, this is a digit that we're using. If it's less than 5, that means it stays the same. It will not change. So the nearest whole here would be 3. For this last problem, 5 meters equals blank centimeters. Here is where we could have used our reference star sheet to find that answer. So pretty much, we know that 1 meter, if I look at my reference sheet, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And if I have 5 meters, that means I would multiply 5 times 100. And it gives me 500. On the bottom, we have kilograms. We also know 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. So if we have 4 kilograms, we're going to multiply, and that's going to give us 4,000 grams. Now we're going to go ahead and go into Thursday's do now. So Thursday, we are following the rule on the top. If it's adding 2, we're going to be adding 2 to our y. So 0 plus 2 gives us 2. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. 2 plus 2 gives us 4. 3 plus 2 gives us 5. And here we are adding 3. 0 plus 3 gives us 3. 1 plus 3 gives us 4. 2 plus 3 gives us 5. And then 3 plus 3 gives us 6. Now all we're going to do here is we're going to bring our ordered pairs and we're going to write them here. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5. Then for this one we have 0, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. And now we're just going to graph. Now remember what I talked about when we graph, we always want to make sure we complete our graph first. So I'm going to go ahead and write the numbers at the bottom, just to make it easier on me when I'm plotting my dots. Now I can actually plot. Remember, this is our x and this is our y. We always start with x, then y. So I will start with 0, 0 right here, and my y is 2. 1 and 3. 2 and 4. 3, and 5. Then we have on this side 0 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 5, and then we have 3 and 6. So these are the answers for your do now for our first week. Again, make any changes if you need to. And at this moment, boys and girls, if you already checked your work, what I want you to do is grab your problem set and your exit ticket for the lessons that we did this week, which was lesson 13 and lesson 14. Go ahead and press pause on the video, and when you have the materials ready, you can press play again. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to pretty much review our. So again, I know I was able to provide feedback to some of you through Teams, the ones that were able to submit it correctly. Maybe I might not have gotten to give feedback to everybody, but this is a great opportunity for you to, if you did not receive the feedback, to just look at your work. If you can add anything as I am working on it, add anything that you didn't add maybe on your paper. And that way you're able to review your strategies and review what the work that you did. Okay, so for problem number 1, it's asking for us to use or straight edge. Remember, I said anything that had it could have been a paper, anything like that. And draw at least 4 sets of parallel lines. I had done already 1 set for you, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw 3 more. I am going to be using my ruler for this. And again, remember, for parallel, we just need to make sure that they are the same distance apart and that our lines never meet. So for example, I could do something like this. This would be my other set. Again, if your lines don't look like mine, it is okay. Because everyone's lines are going to be different, because it's pretty much like a kind of like a free answer choice. So my lines could be longer than yours, your lines could be longer than mine, but it's just more or less so you can follow the rule of what a parallel line looks like. And then I'm going to do one that's diagonal, and I'm actually going to make this one wider. There we go. So these are my sets of 4 parallel lines. They are not meeting, they are the same distance apart, so they are parallel. Now we're going to go ahead and go on to problem number 2. This one says circle the segments that are parallel. I know here I gave a lot of feedback to a lot of students, and they kind of have the same misconception. So we're going to go review this one. So very quickly, if it's asking for parallel, I'm just going to make a quick note so I don't forget what parallel means. So for parallel, I know one thing that I know is that they're the same distance apart. So I'm going to write that in my notes. And they never meet. That's kind of like the most important one. They never meet. So if I look at this one, I do know, I could even look at the units on the grid. It is pretty much 1 unit apart, 1 unit apart, and if these lines continue, and that's another thing, guys, with parallel lines, or not necessarily just parallel lines, lines in general, they go on and on. So if these lines, if I continue drawing them, they will never meet. So I would definitely circle these here. Here, the same thing. They are the same distance apart. If I continue drawing these lines, they would never meet. Some of them were pretty simple. I know this one, the same thing. They are 2 units apart, and here the same thing, and again, they will not meet. This one right here, the same thing, they would not meet. This is another misconception that a lot of students had. A lot of you would not circle this because you would, I'm assuming because you would think, oh, well, the line on the top is longer than this one. That does not necessarily mean anything, because remember, lines go on forever. So if these lines go on forever, they would not meet. These lines, just because this one is longer than this one, does not mean that they're not parallel. They are parallel because they would never meet. But now if we look at this set on this side, if I were to continue these lines, eventually, at some point, maybe here you don't see it, but if you actually draw it, at some point, they are going to meet. So if they meet, they are not parallel. And the same thing for this problem. You can see here, if this line were to continue, at one point, it would actually meet with our other line. So these two lines would actually intersect. So they would not be parallel lines. Now we're going to go to problem number 3. So in problem 3, it is the same thing. It's asking you to use a straight edge to draw a segment parallel to each segment. So we pretty much already have a segment here, and we have to draw another segment, but it needs to be parallel. I had already done A with you, so I'm just going to continue with B. So for example here, if this is my segment and I need to draw something here that is parallel, if this is horizontal, then I need to make sure that this one here is also horizontal. And again, I'm just going to use my ruler because I have it here. And I can even, the good thing about this is on a grid paper, so I could even count, if I count the units, there's 3. So I already know I'm going to use 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stop right there. And those would be my parallel segments right there. For you, I would do the same thing right here. Now we're going to do letter D. Letter D, I'm supposed to use V. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it here. Then we have E. We're supposed to use the W. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of turning my paper, but it's so I can make sure I get my lines straight. And then we have Z on this side. And the dot is just to make it easy for you of where you start. Because remember, lines go on forever. So if I were to continue drawing this way, the line is going to continue. So that is how I made all of the segments parallel to the segment that was already given to me. Now for number 4, this one is asking to draw 2 different lines that are parallel to line B. Again, if you don't do the lines the way I did them, it is fine, because the answer for this would also vary just depending where you drew it. But the way Ms. Rodriguez is going to do it is, if I know that this is a line that's given to me, I need to know that if it's going horizontal, mine needs to be going horizontal too. Or, you know, like in diagonal to the corner, because it has to be parallel. So I'm going to draw one line here. And I'm going to draw another one on this side. Right here. And I just made 2 different lines, and they're both parallel to the one that was given to me. Alright, now we're going to go into our exit ticket. Again, if you didn't grab your exit ticket, press pause, and then you can come and press play on the video again. So for the exit ticket, guys, it is the same thing. We're supposed to be using or drawing a segment that is parallel to the segment that's already given to us. So here, for example, if I have H, it does not mean I necessarily have to start where the point is. I can either go straight like this, or I can start on the point and draw. I don't have to draw it on this side. If I want to, I can. But that would be for letter A. For letter B, I am using I. And it was supposed to look something like this. And then we have J. This segment. And your exit ticket was supposed to look something like this. So this was our lesson for lesson 13. Alright, so now boys and girls, we're going to go into our lesson 14 problem set. And let's go ahead and check our work. So number 1, it's asking, use the coordinate plane below to complete the following tasks. So again, before I even look at my questions in the bottom, I'm going to look at my graph and I'm going to make sure my graph is complete. And I can already see it's actually not complete, so I am going to complete it now. So I'm going to be adding all of the numbers that are missing. Just to make it a lot easier when I am answering the questions. Okay, so our first one, A, it says identify the locations of P and R. So I already know the location was given to me. So all I need to do is now identify it and, where is it located. Let's make sure we label our x-axis and our y. And this is going to be x, our y, our x, and our y. So we have P right here. I'm going to start with x. So my x is 6. My y is 4. For R, my x is 11. Y is 6. So we already identified our points. Then it's asking us to draw the line for the 2 points. So I'm going to use my ruler. And I'm just going to draw my line and connect. Then it says, plot the following coordinate pairs on the plane. So now I'm going to plot these. So for S, we're going to start with 6. So remember, this is our X and our Y, our X, our Y. I'm going to look for 6. And my Y is 7. So I'm going up all the way to 7, right here. And this is going to be S. Then I'm going to look for T, which my X is 11. And my Y is 9. So I'm going to go back all the way up to 9 right here. And this is going to be T. Then it's asking to draw it. So again, I'm going to take my ruler. Remember, if you don't have a ruler, just as long as you have something where you're able to make a straight line. And I draw my line. Then it's asking, circle the relationship between line segment PR and ST. So if we look at this, boys and girls, remember our symbols. And this is a symbol that we learned on yesterday's lesson. This means when they meet like that and they're making a 90 degree angle or a right angle, that means it's perpendicular. And when we have the 2 lines straight, like this, that means they are parallel. So by looking at your plot, what relationship do you see? Do you see that these 2 line segments are perpendicular to each other? That means that they make a 90 degree angle, or that they are parallel? Yes, it's that they are parallel. And I'm just going to write it. You don't have to write it. You could have just circled it, but I wrote it. Then it says here, give the coordinates of a pair of points, U and V, such that UV is going to be parallel to PR. So this one, boys and girls, your answer will vary. So just because I do something on this paper does not mean that is exactly what you need to have, but it should be something similar. It could be different points. But I know that whatever line I draw, it has to be parallel with this. If they already gave me a line and it's parallel, and it's pretty much following the same points, I'm going to do the same thing, but I decided to make mine more at the bottom. So I'm going to start with U. I'm going to use 6 and 1 right here. And I'm going to label that with a U. And I'm going to write this here, 6, 1. And for my V, I'm going to go with 11 because this is where these points are. And I want it to be parallel. But I'm going to stop at 3. So 11, 3. I'm going to use my ruler to make my line. And really quick, just so you know how I guided myself, I saw this and I said, well, if from R to T, it's taking me 1, 2, 3 units. So I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. So I pretty much did 1, 2, 3. Again, it does not have to be here. If you decided to only do 2 and yours is here and here, it's fine. That does not mean your answer is wrong. But you just need to make sure that the line you did is parallel with PR. If it is not parallel, then that means you would have gotten F wrong. And then the last one was to draw it, which I did, and I made sure that they are parallel. That means they do not meet and they are the same distance apart. Alright, so now we're going to continue with number 2. So as I see my graph, before I look at this, I'm going to make sure my graph is complete. I can see that my graph is counting by ones, so I'm missing what's in the middle. So I already know these are going to be my halves. So I'm just going to quickly and briefly put all the information inside my graph. So that it's easier when I am working. Oh, and then 4 and 1. Okay, so I'm going to identify the location of E and F. So again, the points are already given to me. I'm going to label X and Y so I do not get confused. Now E is right here actually. So we have 1 and 3 and a half. So it's going to be 1 and 3 and a half. Then I'm going to do F, which is 3 for X and 1 and 1/2 for Y. Now I'm going to draw my segment. There it is. Now it says generate coordinate pairs for L and M. So I have to do the exact same thing now because E and F, or segment EF, needs to be parallel. Remember, those two lines being parallel to L and M. So I already have E and F. I need to find L and M. Again, for this one, your answers will vary, but this is what I'm going to do. For my L, I'm going to choose for my X 2, and for my Y, I'm going to choose half. That's going to be L for me. And for my M, I am going to do 0, which is the organ. And I'm going to go to 2 and a half, which is right here, my Y. And I'm going to do my line again. I'm going to connect. Now look at my segments. Did Ms. Rodriguez make them parallel? Yes. Does that mean you need to have these points? No. As long as your points that you chose are parallel to segment E and F. I drew my segment already. Then for E, it's asking, explain the pattern you made use of when generating coordinate pairs. So, for example, if you look at mine, the same thing. Look at F. If I look at point F, I went 2 units down and 2 units to the left. If you look at E, I went 2 units down and 2 units to the left. So that's kind of the pattern that I followed, but then again, this is not going to be the pattern you followed. So I'm not going to actually write the pattern that I used here because your pattern will be different. And when you are, since you already submitted your work, I will be looking at these just to make sure your pattern makes sense with what you plotted. But since everyone has a different answer, I will not actually write a pattern here. Then for F, it's asking give the coordinates of a point H such that, again, EF need to be parallel with GH. So now I have EF and I need to give, they actually already gave me G. So I'm going to go ahead and plot G on the grid. So we have for X, we have 1 1/2. So it's 1 1/2 right here. And my Y is 4. So I'm going to go all the way right here. They already gave me G. So if this is my G, now I got to find H. Whatever I put for H, I need to make sure it is parallel to segment EF. So for H, we are going to do 3 1/2 and 2. So if I look here, it's 3 1/2 right here and 2, which is right about here. And that is what F should look like. And the same thing, explain how you chose the coordinates for H. Well, the same thing. If you look at E, I moved 1 unit up and 1 unit to the right. So look at F. I did the exact same thing. I moved 1 unit up. I'm sorry, it wasn't to the left, it was to the right. One unit up and to the right. 1 unit up and to the right. So are the lines the same distance apart? Yes. And are they meeting? No, they do not meet. So they are parallel. And now for our exit ticket. Go ahead and go to your exit ticket. So here, guys, it's asking identify the locations of E and F. Again, before you do this, make sure you completed your graph. Write in all your missing numbers if you had not done that yet. And we're going to begin. We're going to identify E and F. So E, remember, we always start with X, then with Y. So our X for E is 2 and our Y is 4. So we have 2, 4. And for our F, we have 5 and 3. So we draw it. Then we have letter C. Generate coordinate pairs for L and M such that EF, or segment EF, is, again, look at that symbol, means parallel. It has to be parallel with LM. So whatever I do for LM, it should be parallel. So again, this one, your answers might vary, but what I decided to do is for L, I chose points 3, 5. So 3, 5. This is L. And for my M, I chose 6 and 4. 6 and 4. And I'm going to draw my line, because that is tip D. And if you see, look at my connection. I went 1 unit up, 1 unit to the right. If I'm at F, 1 unit up, 1 unit to the right. And I made my 2 segments parallel. So this was your exit ticket for lesson 14. Again, if you made a mistake, this is your time to look at your work, to fix it, and add anything that you did not have in your work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to put the camera back. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, guys, so again, as I mentioned, today was just mainly like a review day to go over your work for the week. Please, tomorrow we will be taking an assessment. So just remember, guys, parallel lines, they are always the same distance apart. They never meet. When they're perpendicular, now we're going to be learning more about perpendicular next week. But remember, perpendicular means they form 4 right angles. Remember, when lines intersect, that means they meet, but when they intersect, they're not making 4 right angles. When they are perpendicular, that means they do make the 4 right angles. So just go ahead and remember those things. Again, I will be uploading the assessment in the morning so that you are able to take it, and I will see you guys next week. Okay? Thank you. Bye.